I'm Linda Easthouse from the Easthouse Natural Health and from Reclaim Your Life Coaching. I'm delighted to be here on live again with you. We're trying to do this weekly and make sure we have some time with sharing what's going on in Reclaim Your Life, but tonight I'm a little later than usual. We're sorry about that, so if you're catching the replay, I'm good with that. Leave me comments anyway, we'd love to see them. Tonight I want to talk about how to kind of dissolve or resolve your anger, taming your anger. As people are around, out, sometimes allowed out of your houses if you're not under lockdown, there just seems to be a lot of anger on the streets. You find a lot of people who are, probably fear-driven, but stay away from me. Don't come near me. You're too close. Your mask isn't 100% the way I want to see it over your entire face. You've only got it over your mouth and nose, and so it isn't like this. So you better stay away from me. The kinds of stuff that are going on out in the public these days is a lot of anger. Just no other way to say it. And because people have been cooped up for so long and because there's so much stuff going on, simple things like waiting in lines have become a problem. Because you might wait a lot longer, for starters, because of limits of how many people can go in and how many people can come out. And the lines have to be so properly spaced, and some people can't really measure what 2 meters is, and so even if you're 3 meters, they think you're too close. You're dealing with all kinds of snide remarks and comments from people. If you're lucky enough to be out and driving around, the traffic can be a problem sometimes. Just so many things. Getting appointments, getting deliveries, getting whatever. There just seems to be so much anger involved in everything. And that's not the way we want to be. That's not the way we want to live our lives. And while feeling angry over these daily annoyances is kind of a normal response, it's pretty normal that people would get upset about some of the things they're having to do or things they're facing or the way they're being treated. Living in this chronic anger, spending all of your time being upset and being defensive is really, really destructive to your health, destructive to your mental wellness, destructive to your relationships around you. And while it's no secret that letting your anger simmer or having a rage outbursts hurts your personal and your professional relationships, it's not as well known that simmering rage and anger and the occasional outburst has such an effect on your physical well-being. We know that kind of anger, just as fear, anger will also lower your immune system immediately, and that lowered immune system may last for quite a number of hours. Studies show anywhere between 5 and 20 hours. I presume that depends on how angry you were. But just like fear depresses your immune system for a period of time, so does anger. And so you want to be careful. You're trying to stay healthy, you're trying to do all the right things, but then you let that anger simmer and you're defeating everything you've done. We also know that anger has a significant impact on blood pressure, and anger will raise your blood pressure significantly. It's also a major contributor in anxiety. The good news is that you can learn to manage and channel your anger more constructively. There are studies that have shown that channeling your anger or dealing with your anger in a more constructive way will make you less likely to develop heart disease. So we want to look at that. And I come at it from maybe a little bit non-traditional approach, in that when a child is having a temper tantrum or before they get to the temper tantrum stage, when they're just having, an angry outburst, or whether you can just feel that anger starting to simmer because they're frustrated about something or because they're not getting their own way or they're whatever. We have, as parents, have lots of strategies to help them manage that. We will distract them. Oh, hey, it's time for a snack. Let's go get some apples and and peanut butter. Or we'll distract them with a different toy, or we'll, you know, say something to them that will get them interested. We distract them. Or we sort of reorient them. We put them into a different direction. So you might actually pick them up and physically move them somewhere else. Or you might tickle them, or you might do all kinds of things to kind of redirect their attention, so their attention is kind of cuts the circuit for them. And we have lots of other strategies to help kids learn to manage their emotions. And we do it quite naturally with our children, but we forget that most of the time when that kind of anger is coming up, that it is really the hurt, damaged, traumatized, ignored, whatever inner child who's acting out in the adult situation. If those old traumas and dramas had been dealt with appropriately, the situation wouldn't be causing as much anger now. And so I look at it, if you want to manage your anger as an adult, treat your inner child with the same kind of techniques that you would use with a child. So you want to distract yourself, you want to reorient yourself, you want to get something that will kind of take your mind onto something else, you want to do something that will help you relax physically. Sometimes it's as simple as removing yourself from the situation. And as you think about the strategies you use with children and apply them to yourself, you will find that it's much easier to manage your anger. And so remember that when anger is coming out, it's usually because there is some kind of a inner child wounded memory or emotion that is driving it in the current situation. So I want to cover a few things that we as adults can do to manage this. And none of us are perfect. We all have days. I had a day last week where something went horrendously wrong in a renovation project we're working on in the house here. And I got very angry for a while, and I had to work through some of these, get myself calmed down and get myself back to, and you know, we're all capable of having angry fits. The question is, what do we do with them? Do we have the strategies to deal with them? Do we have the strategies and the processes in place? Have we trained ourselves to respond appropriately so that we can manage that inner child that comes out and goes, but I said? And so we want to practice some of these things when we're not angry, so that when we are angry, we can use them efficiently. So one of the most common things that seems to give a really big effect quickly is breathing. And I don't know about you, but I know me, and I know a lot of people, when you get angry, you hold your breath. You breathe from high up in the chest instead of your deep belly breath. You have very rapid, quick breathing. Well, that just sets off all the fight or flight, that initiates the adrenaline, that sends off all kinds of stuff that just ramps the anger up. So when you start to feel it rising, when you start to feel it simmering, if you can take some deep breaths, relax your chest, breathe from the belly, get deep breaths in from your nose, out from your mouth if you need to, you'd be surprised how quickly that will help settle it down and allow you to respond in a different way. So as soon as you feel that anger starting to build, check your breath. Don't let yourself go into the holding your breath, breathing shallowly, breathing from high up in the lungs, because that will just trigger the fight or flight, it will trigger the vagus nerve to go into overdrive, and the anger will roil to the top much, much faster. So you want to work on these breathing. Now, I know that if you don't normally practice breathing, then when you need it in an emergency, it isn't likely to work because your body doesn't respond to the cues. What I want you to do is practice some breathing, which we're going to do a little exercise right here in a minute, for a number of days, like a couple of weeks, a couple of times a day. so that your body gets in the habit of going, oh, you're doing a couple of breathing, I'm supposed to do this. And then even when the anger's starting to boil up, out of habit, it will go, oh, I'm supposed to do this. So you're going to find a place where you can sit comfortably, allow your neck and shoulders to be fully relaxed. You don't want to be sitting like this. Drop your shoulders. Make sure your head is actually balanced over your shoulders. It's not back, it's not forward. You want to be balanced over your shoulders. And breathe in deeply through your mouth or through your nose, and just out of a lightly open mouth, you're going to breathe out. And you want to pay attention to the fact that it's making your tummy rise and fall. If when you're breathing, your shoulders are rising and falling, it means you're breathing with the top half of your lungs. Your shoulders shouldn't move when you're breathing. Your tummy should move, because it's your diaphragm that actually makes you breathe. As your diaphragm goes down, it pulls air in, and as your diaphragm comes up, it pushes air out. So unless your diaphragm is moving, you're not breathing properly. So you're just going to sit there and breathe for a couple of minutes. And you don't want to be breathing, you want to be breathing with your tummy going up and down. And you want to consciously think about, when I'm breathing like that, my body relaxes. My vagus nerve shuts off. That kind of deep breathing will turn the vagus nerve off. And so you want to get in the habit of doing that, so your body knows, oh, deep breathing, I'm supposed to relax, I'm supposed to turn off the vagus nerve, I'm supposed to, calm things down. And your body gets used to that. It's the breathing is the trigger to tell your body to relax and calm things down. So you want to practice that 3 to 5 minutes a couple of times a day until it just becomes natural. And then when you do start to get ramped up about something, you can intentionally do that breathing, and your body will just naturally go into the relax process, because that's what it's used to doing. So first strategy to tame that anger is do some deep breathing, and do it regularly to develop a habit so that when you need it, the habit is firmly established. The second thing that can be really useful are to have some affirmations ready. Now, affirmations are I statements that tell your body and your mind how you want to act in a particular situation. So as soon as you feel yourself ramping up, as soon as you feel the anger starting to boil, as soon as you see the frustration coming up, you can try slowly saying things like, I can do this. I'm going to be okay. It's not about me. Or whatever needs to be said. And you should have a number of those worked out. Maybe write them in your phone so you can pull it up and read them off the phone, because in the moment of anger you're not going to remember them. But have some that you're ready to do that can just help you kind of distance yourself a little bit from it and allow yourself to become more of the observer instead of the participant in the anger, and that will help you release it. And so you want to work out some now. If you're in our coaching program, we do a lot of work around this, and we'll help you work through some. We'll help you personalize them to you. You'll get ones for different situations, but having these affirmations available to you will just help you consciously calm your mind. And they are always statements that are said in the positive. They start with I, and they tell your body what you want it to do in that situation. So it's kind of like having a instruction set for the brain to go, oh, instead of ramping up into this anger, I'm going to do this instead. And write a few of those into your phone, have them ready on your notes or wherever you can get them quick. So when you feel yourself doing that, and you don't, you're going to breathe a couple of times, and you're not going to remember it, look on your phone quick and say a couple of them out loud to yourself. Now, if you're in a place where it's not kind of appropriate to say them out loud, you can kind of whisper them under your breath to yourself. You can even just say them in your mind. Your body will respond equally. So get some affirmations ready for your calming yourself down. A third strategy is to visualize your happy place. So as you start to ramp up, instead of focusing on the situation you're in, let your mind go consciously to a place where you are calm and happy. So imagine the person in front of you is standing on a beautiful beach that the waves are rolling in and it's relaxing, or they're out in the forest where you love to hike, or they're sitting in the hammock in your backyard. Put them into a situation, visualize your happy place. Much harder to get angry when you're in your happy place. So when it's starting to ramp up on something, when you're starting to get frustrated and stressed and angry, bring up your happy place and let yourself feel it. Let yourself smell what it smells like when you're there. What do those ocean waves smell like? What do those trees smell like? The beautiful flowers in your garden smell like? What does it feel like? Is it the sun on you? Is it nice and shady? Let yourself, in your mind, consciously distract you into a better place where you're not angry. Children's distraction, typical technique, but you can use it. So visualize your happy place and try to breathe while you're doing that. You're gonna have to maybe put two of these together, the breathing, or breathe first and then visualize your happy place. It will just allow you to distract your mind off of whatever was causing it to ramp up long enough for you to deal with it in a different way. And it will release a lot of the stress and lower the hormone response and the adrenaline response to whatever's going on. And another strategy is simply to mindfully move your body if it's appropriate. Obviously, if you're sitting in a meeting, you can't do that, but if you're sitting at your desk and you have the opportunity to get up and walk around a little bit, do so. If you can't get up and walk around, mindfully move your body. Lift your feet up and down. Pretend you're walking, just lifting your feet up and down on your desk. Move your hand, do some things with your hands. Ideally, do some of the meridian tracing, even if it's just, gently while you're sitting in your chair. We're going to teach you those kind of strategies in the coaching program, but whatever kind of mindful movement that you can do will really help sort of dissipate the stress and ground you down. If you're not in a situation where you can move, maybe you're driving or whatever, then you can do simple things like sit up straight, sit back and relax. Sit up straight, sit back and relax. Anything to get the muscles out of the tension and to get the flow of energy flowing again rather than stuck in this emotion. So do whatever you can. There are lots of energy medicine movement programs and things. If you know Tai Chi, that's awesome. If you can do the meridian tracing, that's great. But otherwise, any kind of sort of a rhythmic movement, from walking to just, pretending to walk with your legs on your chair, will be beneficial. So do something, get moving. And probably the last one for today, there's still 5 more to go, and I think that's going to be way too long. So we're going to stop after this one, and we'll carry it on next week. But so number 5 for today, you have to practice all these in between anyway. It's too many to give you all at once. So go and practice a bunch of these. But number 5 I want to do before we close up here. And that is change your story, check your perspective. When you are in moments of high stress and situations where your anger is rising, it can warp your perception of what's going on. It can warp your perception of reality. It can make you feel like the world is out to get you. So the next time you feel your anger bubbling up, try checking your perspective. See if there's a different backstory that you could put onto it. So, for instance, your boss has yelled at you and whatever, and you're feeling really angry and defensive, and you're taking it personally, and you're, woe is me, and stop yourself, check your perspective, and go, it's not about me. What's going on for my boss today? Maybe he just got yelled at his boss. That isn't an excuse, it's an understanding. Or maybe he's just had some really bad news at home. Or maybe she's going through something that you know nothing about, and she's highly stressed, and everybody's getting treated badly, and it's not really about you. So if you can look at it from a different perspective, if you can come at it and find some other reasons why this could be going on, rather than, oh, poor me, I'm being yelled at, it's my fault. Find a different story to put onto it. Everybody has a bad day from now and then. Tomorrow will be a fresh start. And if you can reframe your thinking from, they did this on purpose and they're out to get me, and they always pick on me, why me, into something which is a little different, then it helps you deal with your response to it. It doesn't make their behavior any better. Their behavior is still terrible, and it shouldn't be that way, but how you respond to it can be different. What if you were able to shift your perspective to, they were unaware that whatever they were doing was going to affect you that much. They're unaware because they're in their own anger or grief or stress or whatever, and they're unaware of how they're doing it. Might not be good, but takes the pressure off of, it's aimed at me and I'm the one, I'm the victim here, to, they're having a really bad day and they shouldn't be acting like that, but it's not really about me and I don't need to take it personally. Instead of going to the negative words like, oh, this person is a lying, terrible person who's screwing up the whole office because of whatever, or this person is mean and nasty all the time, to reframe it as their immaturity and their lack of respect of themselves is showing up here. And yes, it's being directed at me, but it's not about me. I'm not the cause here. Their own problems internally is the cause, and I can play the higher road and recognize that it's maybe aimed at me, but I don't need to accept it. Just because they're sending it doesn't mean that I need to receive it. It's their immaturity, it's their problem, it's their lack of dealing with their stuff that's creating this problem. It's not me. And when you can get out of the it's me, it's I'm the victim, I'm the target, I'm the whatever, once you can get out of that, your own anger will change, and it allows it to dissipate in a different way. It allows you to react to it in a different way. When you can change the story, you can take the charge off of the emotions. Once you take the charge off of the emotions, that allows you then to not go into fight or flight yourself about it. It allows you not to set off all of the stress hormones that then cloud your own judgment. It allows you to not let your own buttons go off so that you're acting out of your own woundedness or drama. And the more you work on dealing with your own woundedness and drama and take away all those trigger points, the less you end up in anger in the first place, even when other people are being stupid, even when other people are doing inappropriate things, even when other people are making nasty comments or doing inappropriate things. But if there isn't a button in you to push, you won't react, and you can look at them and go, they're having a bad day, they're having a problem, I'll just kind of get out of their way, or, you know what, water off a duck's back, that's their problem, not mine. And as you develop the ability to deal with your own traumas and dramas and have these strategies to deflect and reorient and distract yourself from whatever's going on, you don't have to have the anger blow-ups. You don't have to have the outbursts. You don't have to have that simmering that you're just stuffing down and trying to hide, because those are the things that are damaging your health. So don't do this for other people's benefits. Do this for your own benefit. You want to learn how to manage these strategies and use them because it helps you. And of course, the other people get a benefit from it, but that's not our primary purpose. Our primary purpose is to be responsible for ourselves. So I hope that's helpful to you. Please have a go at some of these this week. I'm sure everybody will have an opportunity somewhere in the week to try some of these. So remember, one, some good deep breathing, and practice that every day, whether you're angry or not, because you need to train your body to respond with relaxing when you're breathing. Get a couple of affirmations ready so you have those ready to use. Visualize your happy place. Put yourself into that situation where your body just naturally relaxes because you're in a happy place. And that allows you to ground and send out the anger in a different way. Do some mindful movement. Figure out a way to move something. The more you move, the better it is. The more the energy will flow. The more as it flows, the more it can dissipate. And check your perspective. Check your story. Take the charge off the emotions, and then you don't have to be magnetized into the argument. So next week we'll have another 5 strategies for dealing with anger. So check in next week with us too. Be sure you hashtag replay and tell us you've watched this. Even better, tell us how you've tried some of these out, explore them, and come back in and give us some comments on what worked for you. And we'll talk again next week. Thank you. Oh, and I almost forgot. We're going to have a big contest starting next week, so hop on and make sure you watch and see what's coming up. We've got a big surprise for you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.